53 BC, 3842 AM. Roman general Crassus led an army of 7 legions between 28,000 to 42,000 soldiers, with 4,000 cavalry and also auxiliaries, into northern Babylonia, and in the Battle of Archaix, Haran of old, they were slaughtered by the Parthians, a defeat shocking the ancient Roman world. The king of Parthia had molten gold poured down General Marcus Crassus' throat. The Parthians were an admixture of Persians, Medes and Scythians, all ruled by the Sacs or descendants of Israel, Beth Sac, house of Isaac. Haran was the ancient hometown of Abraham, the patriarch of all the Israelites, Haran the origin of the Hurrians. This military defeat was 700 years after the founding of Rome in 753 BC, and 828 years after the Israelite capital city of Samaria was built in 881 BC. 1 Ancient Mysteries, 2 The Poisoned King. 51 BC, 3844 AM. By this year, Rome had conquered all the Gauls from Galatia in Asia Minor to Celtiberia in Spain and Cisalpine Gaul, this being 670 years after the last of the 10 tribes of Israel in 721 BC were deported by Assyria. From this year onwards, the only free Celtic kingdoms were in Britain, Scotland and Ireland. 49 BC, 3846 AM. During the civil war of Rome, a comet appeared, this being during the passage of the Romanid Apocalypse Comet Group. Julius Caesar marched his legions over the Rubicon and into Italy, an act forbidden by Roman law which mandated that a general's army had to stay camped within the boundaries of the general's assigned command. Having crossed the Rubicon on his way to fight Pompey and Rome, Caesar remarked, "The die is cast." This was 700 years after Rome raped the Sabines in 749 BC, and 400 years after the collapse of the 10 Torrents of Rome and institution of the 12 Tables of the Law in public in 449 BC. This was also 460 years since the founding of the Republic of Rome in 509 BC, and half of this was 230 years or 279 BC, when Italy was losing battles to Pyrrhus of Epirus. In this year Rome extended Roman citizenship privileges to the Celts of Gaul. 1 Pliny, Natural History, Universe and the World. 2 A Short History of the World. 3 The Philosopher and the Druid. 48 BC, 3847 AM. Julius Caesar defeats Pompey at Pharsalos for the supremacy of Rome. His dictatorship is heralded by many as the end of the Republic. Caesar then invades Egypt, burns his own fleet of ships and the Library of Alexandria. Most of the texts are lost, but many are spirited out, the most important by scribes and stewards. This was exactly 744 years after 792 BC, when the Ethiopic dynasty of Egypt began. 47 BC, 3848 AM. Cleopatra VII, aided by her new Roman lover Julius Caesar, is reinstated as co-ruler of Egypt with her brother Ptolemy XIV, after a civil war with her brother Ptolemy XIII. Cleopatra and her brothers were of the Macedonian line, Cleopatra named after Alexander the Great's sister. Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt, was fluent in her native Macedonian, Egyptian, Ethiopian, Arabic, Syrian, Parthian, Median and Hebrew. In fact, no less than a quarter of the population of Alexandria was Jewish, and the majority of her tax police were Jewish, a thorn in the side of the local Greeks. This was 1400 years after the destruction and collapse of Egypt in 1447 BC, and escape of the Israelites in the Exodus. The beginning of Cleopatra's reign here was 500 years after the Greeks. She, being Grecian, suffered the loss of the Temple of Delphi, when it burned down in 547 BC, when they requested aid from Pharaoh of Egypt to rebuild it, and he sent treasure and craftsmen enough to restore the Delphic oracle. This was also 880 years after Egypt invaded Judah and sacked the temple in 927 BC. 1 Alexander of Macedon. 2 The Lost Treasure of King Juba. 46 BC, 3849 AM. Caesar invades the North African coast and defeats Numidia. Prince Juba too is taken to Rome, where he is brought up to be a Roman soldier and scholar of renown. He is the son of Juba, a direct descendant of the Carthaginians and Phoenicians. from a long lineage of kings going back 1,000 years to the first African Phoenician settlements. Caesar modifies the calendar after the calculations of Alexandrian scholar and astronomer Sosigenes, who redesigned a more modern calendar to have yearly periods of 365 days, with an intercalary day added every 4 years, leap year, as opposed to the old Roman model of 355 days a year, with an extra month of 22 days or 23 days added every other year. The seasons were out of alignment, so Caesar instituted a 446-day year, known as the Year of Confusion. Though this newer model was adopted in 46 BC, the new calendar did not begin until after the Year of Confusion, which added 81 days to the year. Thus 45 BC was the start of the Roman Julian calendar, one the lost treasure of King Juba.